Sarah Palin gave an interview to Breitbart, and she spoke about the Obamacare replacement bill that the Republicans proposed. And this is actually really interesting because at times she actually sounds like the dumbest person on earth, but at other times she actually makes a little bit of sense. So that's surprising, especially when we talk about Sarah Palin. So let me break it down here for you. She says the following: I do not want to speak about this, but I am tempted to say not another word from our fearless leaders. Should I put on her accent? I think I will. For our fearless leaders about this new form. I like how my Ted Cruz and my Sarah Palin are almost exactly the same. Let me start over for you guys. Gosh, I do not want to speak about this, but I am tempted to say not another word from our fearless leaders about this new form of Obamacare that I'm going to call RINO-Care. Not another word from them until we are definitively told that there is no provision whatsoever allowing Congress to exempt itself whatsoever with this law. As with anything else mandated by Congress, every single dotted I and crossed T better apply to them too, and not just the people who they are lording this thing over, because remember, this is government-controlled healthcare. The system that requires enrollment is an unaffordable, unsustainable, unwanted, unconstitutional continuation of government-run medicine. And even in this new quasi-reform proposal, there's still an aspect of socialism. That's the whole premise here. Oh, God. Okay, so the parts of that that actually made sense. She said, look, whatever applies to Congress should apply to us. I agree, which is why we should have basically Medicare for all. We should have, single payer like every other modern nation. So I actually agree that, they could have nice healthcare and everybody else gets fucked. No, forget that. Let's actually do a Medicare for all system for everybody. That's what I'd be in favor of. But then she says Obamacare is, quote, government-controlled healthcare. And she says this new bill is, quote, government-controlled healthcare. Actually, Sarah, neither are government-controlled healthcare, as government-controlled healthcare would be single-payer or Medicare for all, and it would be awesome, as all the studies show, because every other modern nation has it, and it kicks our fucking ass. It costs less money, and you get better care, and you cover more people. What the fuck could be wrong with that? But she fearmongers like, oh, what, Obamacare and the RINO-Care are government-controlled care. No, it's not. I wish it was, but it's not. It's like in her mind, anything you don't like, just lump into the bin of socialism, government controlled. Anything you don't like, just call it that. What a ridiculous way to view the world. Everything right-wing and Republican, or I should say right-wing, because she's actually slamming the Republicans here. But everything right-wing is good by definition. Everything left-wing or government-controlled is bad by definition. What a simpleton. And she said, it's an aspect of socialism in this. No, it's not. This private health insurance companies are still in charge, and that's the fucking problem. That's the whole core of the problem. It's always been in the United States. Now, furthermore, under Obamacare, people who don't comply are supposed to pay a fine to the federal government. That's the individual mandate. Hey, you didn't buy insurance. Well, now we're going to, make you pay a fine. But they didn't have an enforcement mechanism for that, as I described previously. So they say you have to buy health insurance by law, but if you don't, there's no way to enforce it. Now, under the new Republican Obamacare replacement plan, people who don't comply actually do have to pay, and it's basically a fine that goes to the insurance companies, and that has an enforcement mechanism because the next time you actually buy health insurance, if you go 2 months without it, the next time you buy health insurance, they're going to charge you 30% surcharge, up to a 30% surcharge. So there actually was no enforcement under Obamacare for the individual mandate. Under RINO-Care or Trump Care or the Republican plan, there is. So Sarah continues, This 30% additional fee will be collected by some in the private sector, which will mean politicians are allowed, again, to pick the winners and losers, and it makes you wonder who's lobbying hardest for aspects of this new bill, because obviously there are special interests involved. Otherwise, certain private sector segments of our economy wouldn't be rewarded as they will be with this fee. Instead of going to the IRS, going to private companies, it would be really helpful if every single one of these politicians would do like NASCAR drivers do, as it's been said before, but let them wear their sponsors plastered all over their three-piece suits when they show up, so we know what side they're on and who they're actually doing their bidding for. This is the part that just flat out makes sense. She's saying, well, look, the reason why you have that 30% surcharge and they're going to penalize you, and you're going to basically pay a fine to the insurance companies, is because the insurance companies bought the politicians. So the politicians are putting in provisions that help the insurance companies like crazy. It's a win-win for them. You either buy insurance from them and they price gouge you that way, or you don't, and then when you do, they fine you. But they did that because they're bought. The politicians are bought by the insurance company, so they're doing their bidding. And Sarah Palin's saying, we know that's the case. They should have to wear the NASCAR suits that have who gave them money all over it. And that's something I've spoken about before because it's true. So show us who you're really representing. This way we know when you propose a bill, let's do a $4 billion subsidy to ExxonMobil every year. I can see because the giant patch on your fucking chest, they're the number one donor to you. So there, I have no bones to pick with that. She's 100% right here. But then again, she drives it into a ditch. She says, Republicans say they want the patient first. They say they want freedom. They say they want a free market to drive the insurance system that we have in America. But no, government is still in control. No, Sarah, it's not the fucking government. Yes, the government is biasing the laws in favor of the private health insurance companies. But the core of the problem is the private health insurance companies because they're the ones who are bribing the politicians and they're the ones who are the unnecessary for-profit rapacious shark middleman here. You don't need for-profit private health insurance companies. That's unnecessary. You're just letting them skim off the top and letting them price gouge the American people. If you get rid of the private health insurance companies and you have a Medicare for all system, guess what? The cost of healthcare goes down, you cover more people, and you get better quality care. We already know, we just did the story, 80% of the money for private health insurance companies goes to actual health care. It's 94% for Medicare. So they're way more efficient, and way more of each dollar goes to actual care. Private health insurance companies, more overhead, more, padding the bottom line for their shareholders and getting the CEO a fucking yacht and a third mansion. So you're missing the core of it. You keep saying, she keeps framing it like the more of a free marketplace we have, the better off we are. But no, we had an even bigger free marketplace when it comes to health insurance before Obamacare, and that was the heart of the problem. That's why we had 30 million people or more who were uninsured. That's why we had, people dying because they don't have access to basic health care. So you want more of the problem, and you think that's the solution. That ain't the solution, Sarah. That ain't the solution. So, you want to go back to a more free market system? Just go pre-Obamacare and watch. Everything will fall apart again. Obamacare, for all its flaws, covered millions more people. So, but they want to go back to a pre-Obamacare situation, and they think that would solve the problems when it would just create more problems. And then she saves her dumbest point for the end here. He will step in and fix it, talking about President Trump. I have great faith that President Trump is one who will fulfill campaign promises. Excuse me. Which promises, Sarah? Half the time he said, what we're going to do is we're going to allow the insurance companies to go, over state lines. You could purchase insurance over state lines. It'll be tremendous. It'll fix it. It'll fix our healthcare problems. Actually, no, all that is a ruse to help the private health insurance companies all set up camp in the state that will tax them the least. That's all that's about. That's not going to improve care at all. Half the time, Trump only did right-wing talking points on healthcare, and the other half the time, he would slip up and say, we're going to cover everybody and the government's going to take care of it. Well, that's single payer. So what do you mean he's going to hold true to his promises? Which promises? Trump, just like Hillary Clinton, was on every side of every issue. So this is Sarah Palin where the faith aspect in her mind comes in. She's a fundamentalist Christian. We all know that. And so Jesus will magically solve everything. And she has the same kind of, affection for Trump. I know President Trump will do the right thing. He'll step in and fix it. Sarah, he already endorsed this bill. This is why some people call it Trump Care. Others call it RINO-Care. It's just the Republican replacement bill. But he endorsed it. So what do you mean he's going to fix it? You don't like the bill, but he endorsed the bill. So that means you don't agree with him. But she's got she's incapable of being rational. So she's like, no, but me like Trump and me don't like Bill, and Trump will fix it even though he agrees with it and doesn't want to fix it. So there you go. Sarah Palin, in her typical language mangling speech here, had some thoughts for us on healthcare.